In 2023, a hiker in the White Mountains of New Hampshire tragically succumbed to hypothermia despite possessing a $400 sleeping bag rated for temperatures as low as 20 degrees, a $200 tent, GPS, emergency beacons, and moisture-wicking base layers. The temperature that night was only 5 degrees. Subscribe and comment for more medieval videos. This incident is not unique. Every year, more than 1,000 Americans die from hypothermia. The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, CDC, closely monitors these statistics, revealing a troubling trend. The death rate is higher in regions with milder climates, where people often do not expect to require cold weather survival skills. This echoes the themes of Jack London's 1908 short story, To Build a Fire, where a man tragically freezes to death in the Yukon after failing to maintain a fire upon falling through the ice. London based this story on real accounts from the Gold Rush era, emphasizing the critical importance of fire skills that have become less recognized in our modern world. Despite the advancements in outdoor gear, including synthetic insulation and space-age fabrics, people still find themselves freezing to death. In contrast, in 1884, a writer named George Washington Sears published Woodcraft, where he described his solo paddles through the Adirondack wilderness with handmade canoes and minimal equipment, costing less than $50 adjusted for inflation. His knowledge and techniques kept him warm, as did the thousands of trappers, hunters, and travelers who came before him. This exploration will delve into why modern fire-making techniques often fail and how traditional methods can provide effective solutions. To understand the shortcomings of modern fire-making techniques, we must first examine how a typical campfire burns. Most campfires operate in a convection pattern, where hot air rises straight up, causing heat to escape into the atmosphere. If you've ever sat beside a campfire on a cold night, you know how your face can become overly warm while your back remains cold. This inefficiency results in a thermal output of only 10 to 15%, meaning that the majority of heat energy is wasted. In his 1906 book, Camping and Woodcraft, Horace Kephart documented this issue while living in the Great Smoky Mountains. He tested various fire configurations, concluding that traditional campfires were inefficient. This energy loss is critical to understand, especially when modern wood stoves can achieve thermal efficiencies of 65 to 80%. However, carrying a wood stove into the backcountry is impractical, which leads us to seek alternative solutions. The long fire technique has existed for centuries, and its origins can be traced back to various cultures. In 1387, French nobleman Gaston Phoebus completed the Book of the Hunt, which documented hunting practices across medieval Europe. Although the specific fire techniques were not detailed, the tradition of building horizontal fires can be found in Scandinavian hunting practices, Russian trapping, and among American frontiersmen. The key to success lies in changing the geometry of the fire. Rather than building a vertical fire, a horizontal fire creates a wall of radiant heat that sends energy directly toward the individual sitting beside it. This configuration allows for 3 to 4 times more usable heat compared to a standard campfire, increasing thermal efficiency to 25 to 40%. One of the simplest ways to create a long fire involves using just 2 large logs. Here's how to do it. Plan on spending 30 to 45 minutes from start to a stable fire. This includes gathering suitable logs, positioning them, and collecting tinder and kindling. Look for 2 logs of similar diameter, ideally between 8 and 12 inches thick and approximately 1.5 to 2 meters long. Dead standing timber is preferred because it contains less moisture. Lay the 2 logs parallel to one another with a gap of about 15 to 20 centimeters between them. This gap is critical. Too narrow, and the fire suffocates. Too wide, and you lose thermal efficiency. Place the bottom log directly on the ground or on 2 smaller support logs. The top log should rest at a slight angle on the bottom log, creating a V-shaped channel. Place tinder and kindling inside this channel, lighting it to allow the flames to spread. Once established, this fire can burn unattended for 6 to 8 hours. You can light the fire before sleeping and wake up to glowing coals. You might wonder why anyone would opt for a long fire when modern sleeping bags and tents are available. Cost. A complete modern winter camping system can cost around $2,500, including a sleeping bag, tent, insulated pad, and backup stove. In contrast, the long fire costs nothing if you have access to standing deadwood and basic tools. Failure modes? Modern gear has multiple points of failure. For example, a sleeping bag traps heat but fails when wet or when temperatures drop below its rating. The long fire has one primary point of failure, finding dry wood. Simplicity. If you can find dry wood, you can stay warm. There are no batteries or zippers to malfunction, making the long fire a more reliable choice in survival situations. For colder nights or extended periods, the 3-log configuration can increase burn time to 10 to 12 hours. Here's how it works. Setup. Use 3 logs instead of 2. The bottom 2 logs should be parallel with a gap between them. The 3rd log rests on top, spanning both lower logs. Self-regulating chamber. The fire burns in the space between all 3 logs simultaneously. As the logs burn, they settle closer together, maintaining optimal spacing without requiring constant attention. Burn time. This configuration can provide significant safety margins in temperatures below a tenda, ensuring that you are not relying on a single log's burn time. Choosing the right wood is vital for effective fire making. Different species have unique burning characteristics. Oak burns at 5.3 kilowatt-hours per kilogram and produces excellent coals but is difficult to ignite when green. Ash burns well even when fresh, making it a traditional favorite among woodsmen. Birch ignites easily due to oils in its bark but burns faster than oak or ash. Its bark is a superb fire starter. Softwoods like pine contain resins that increase energy content but burn quickly and can produce excessive sparks. They should be avoided near sleeping areas. The ideal combination for a long fire is birch bark for ignition, softwood kindling for heat, and hardwood logs for sustained burning. Dead standing ash is particularly effective due to its availability and burning characteristics. While the long fire provides directional heat, you can enhance its effectiveness with a reflector. Traditional woodcraft shelters often incorporated reflectors made from stacked logs, slabs of bark, or even packed snow. The reflector captures radiant heat that would otherwise escape behind the fire and redirects it toward your shelter. Modern experiments reveal that adding a reflector can more than double the effective heat reaching a person, creating a micro-environment where you can sleep comfortably even in freezing temperatures. Comfortably resting is crucial for survival, as hypothermia can kill through exhaustion. The long fire allows for genuine sleep, which could save your life. Some woodcraft traditions take the long fire concept further by creating self-feeding configurations. The most common version uses an inclined ramp. Logs are stacked on 2 angled supports pointing downward toward a central fire pit. As the bottom logs burn through, they roll down into the fire. This setup can burn for 12 to 14 hours without requiring any attention. However, self-feeding fires can fail if the angle of the ramp is incorrect, causing all logs to catch fire simultaneously or preventing logs from rolling down. The traditional long fire method is more foolproof, requiring minimal adjustment during the night. While the long fire technique is powerful, it has limitations. The long fire cannot be established with wet wood. If you cannot find dry wood with less than 30% moisture content, you will struggle. It requires large diameter logs, preferably 8 inches or more, to function effectively. Expect to spend 30 to 60 minutes setting up the fire. In emergencies where time is critical, this may not be feasible. The long fire produces smoke, which could be problematic for those with respiratory issues or in areas with fire restrictions. Building a long fire requires practice. The first attempt may not go perfectly, so it is essential to practice in controlled conditions. Fires near shelters can be dangerous, and traditional woodcraft practitioners developed techniques through generations of trial and error. Start by building fires in controlled conditions. Learn how different wood types behave and how to manage various setups. Position your shelter at least 1.5 meters away from the fire, and avoid building a long fire under overhanging branches or near dry brush. Always have a plan for extinguishing the fire if conditions change. Respect the power of fire. While it can be a life-saving tool, it can also be a deadly hazard. As Jack London illustrated in To Build a Fire, the stakes of fire-making skills remain high. The physics and thermodynamics of fire have not changed over the past century. A horizontal fire still delivers significantly more usable heat than a vertical fire, and the principles established by early woodsmen are still valid today. The mathematics behind these traditional techniques are compelling. $1,500 in modern gear versus $0 for the long fire, and 30 minutes of work versus a night spent shivering. The hikers who succumb to hypothermia each year are not necessarily lacking expensive equipment. They are often deficient in the foundational knowledge that any traditional woodsman would have considered basic. If you learned something valuable from this exploration, please share what technique you'd like me to investigate next in the comments.